Good morning. It's Thursday, March 30th, and I have ranted for the past couple of days on gun violence. And I'm going to do one more rant today about gun violence. Because the cycle of gun violence is going to remain sad, predictable, and permanent. I say that because there's little that the president can do about mass shootings. There's nothing the new GOP-controlled Congress is likely to do to prevent mass shootings. That's not what they're about. And there's reason to think that state gun control laws will continue to be in jeopardy. As we saw, we have a Supreme Court that struck down some very important laws in the state of New York about where you could carry a gun and what kind of gun you could carry. So the Supreme Court is not in favor of gun control either. So this country is in a dire straits. And as of right now, at this very moment, we've already seen 16 shootings in 2023 at schools. And 405 kids have been killed by guns in America. And the total number of child gun deaths is 1,680 in 2022 alone. And that's according to the Gun Violence Archive. So what makes any of you out there think there's a fighting chance to have any reasonable type of gun control? I don't believe there is. When we can see these numbers and nobody really gets upset about it, and people cling to their gun like they're hanging on to their grandchildren or their nieces or their nephews or their own children. Flag law is an extreme protection order law, and it prevents individuals who show signs of being a threat to themselves or others from getting a gun permit or anything. But even if they had a red flag law in Tennessee, nobody is sure that the shooter would have been caught, because there are many times there are red flag laws in states and the shooter is a known red flag person and they still commit the crime. So we have very few methodologies which will prevent gun shootings. So the only thing we really can do about stopping the gun shootings is stopping people from having these guns. And you don't have to stop them from having all guns. Let's just stop them from having these high magazine automatic rifles. Because if you have a six-shooter, you can do damage, but you can't do that much damage. Because eventually you run out of bullets. So this whole thing with gun control and gun banning is a nightmare, because we have a Congress that will not do anything about it right now. They're going to ignore it. We have states that are trying to ignore it. And in states where they have some strict gun laws, we have a Supreme Court that overturns them. So why? Why would anybody think that we're going to change overnight and start banning assault rifles? Anybody who thinks that hasn't got all his marbles or her marbles. And on top of this, there are many states in this country that are expanding their gun laws. They're allowing more people to have guns. And that's including Tennessee, where they are continuing to make the laws more permissive. I don't know how much more permissive they can be. If you can buy a gun and you don't have to be checked out, you don't have to be forced to go for medical treatment periodically to make sure that you're not insane. If you can walk into a store and just buy a gun, I don't know how much more than that you can give them, unless you're going to give the guns out for nothing. And in Tennessee, they're even going to expand the law so that people can carry more guns without a permit. So they're going to have a bunch of people without guns, and we don't even know who that person is. And that's what's going on in Tennessee, on top of this mass shooting. And then you got Congress, who dismissed the immediate calls to reconsider an assault weapon ban in order to stop the number of AR-15 rifles from getting out on the street. And that was one of the weapons that young lady in Nashville was carrying. And they point to the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. That's, of course, Jim Jordan, that brilliant guy from Ohio. I believe in the Second Amendment, and we shouldn't penalize law-abiding American citizens. So give everybody a gun. Give everybody 2 guns. Give them 5 guns. What the heck is the difference? Why not talk about the real issue facing the country? The mental health issue. That's what these people are claiming. That the big problem in the country is not the guns and not the people that have the guns. It's the people that have mental health issues. People that have mental health issues have more things to worry about than carrying around a gun. Those people can't concentrate on doing anything evil for too long. The people who are mentally ill, it's a very rare case of mental illness that would drive somebody to shooting people. So forget about the mental illness issue and think about the fact that there's a very small majority of people in this country that are in favor of gun banning. Most of the people in this country are not in favor of gun banning. It's a slim majority that are. So we're stuck with this situation. And the only thing that we really can do is figure out how to get these high-profile, high-volume weapons off the street. In fact, there is no majority of people in the United States that believe that stricter gun laws and the enforcement of stricter gun laws would amount to a reduction in violent crime in the United States. So we have an attitude in this country that says that's the way of life. We are going to exist in spite of the fact that there's violent crime all around us all the time. Now, that's a terrible way to look at things. Like, we can't get rid of it, so we have to learn to live with it. And learning to live with it could mean that maybe we could create a federal database to track gun sales. 66% of the people would be in favor of that. And 64% of the people are in favor of banning high-capacity magazines from, 64% of the people approve of banning high-capacity ammunition magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. And 63% approve of banning assault-style rifles. So there are people out there that are willing to do something. Unfortunately, those majorities don't exist in the right places. Because even though we're talking about 60-something% of the people that want to do something about it, that doesn't seem to be making a dent in Congress or in many of the states. So right now we're screwed and we have to live with it. And I'll leave you with that this morning. Bye.